Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Scott Briard, here with our manager, I guess, with us today as well. Our moderator, Kelly, will be keeping an eye on the chat room on the right-hand side. Let us know if you run into any audio or video issues. And it's a great chance on the right-hand side. Let us know what city you're from. It's always great to know who's joining us. Last webinar last month, we had a good list, I think, of people. Scotland, Australia, a few from South America, and definitely lots here from Canada. So if you have a chance to fill out the right-hand side and let us know what city you're here from. Wow, great to see we got some people from Egypt with us. We're actually working on a big project for a mining company there in Egypt. Vancouver, New York City, Sudbury, Ontario. Hi, Mark. Hello, everyone. Anyway, welcome, everybody. We are glad you're with us. This is our second webinar. The first one went over so well that we had requests from many people to send out a copy of the video, provide the slides from the last webinar as well. We had over 200 signed up for our last webinar. I think we have 160 registered this time around. Maybe LinkedIn's not as exciting as talking about online marketing overall, but whether there's 160 of you or we've only got one, we're happy to have all of you. And if only one of you takes something great back from this, then it was definitely worth our time to be here. So we're excited. Hoping to plan today for just 25 minutes. I certainly talked a lot last time and certainly spent 20 minutes on my bio. So we're not going there this time whatsoever. We're attempting to time this between 25 minutes. And then, of course, the most important thing, we want your questions at the end. How can this apply to you? What more in-depth information regarding LinkedIn for mining executives can we provide you? So at the end of this, we would be happy to take 5-10 minutes of questions. And again, you can always find us on stockmarketing.ca. Our email addresses are there, and we certainly will take on more content or more questions at that time and help you out a little bit more. So hoping for 22 minutes. Let's see if we can do this. And hopefully you get lots of great content that we've spent lots of hours putting together in these slides. So brief intro to me. I'm not going to go through it, but if you ever do want to learn a little bit more why online marketing, especially LinkedIn, is so important to me, you can find my details at scottbriard.ca, or most importantly, you're on LinkedIn, make sure you come to LinkedIn and certainly do a search for Scott Briard and connect with me, and let's chat there. Definitely some more. Stock Marketing, Kelly and I, this is our online marketing agency for public companies. I would say somewhere between 90-95% of those are in the mining sector. I was a director for 2.5 years for a mining company on the TSX Venture, and it certainly slotted us to provide these great services. And this is a good small example of some of our current clients that we enjoy providing these services for. So LinkedIn. Let's certainly open up some ideas on why it is I think this is important, an important opportunity for public companies to access investors, why I believe this is the most important platform of the social media sphere when you're considering Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn by far doing fantastic, 722 million members. Bought up by Microsoft, I guess, not too long ago. I guess they're now about 18 years old, 722 million members. 41% of those are millionaires. Obviously key to becoming investors for public companies. 52, or where are we at? 55 million businesses now have a LinkedIn company page. Kelly and I, when we launched Stock Marketing, though, we went and reviewed every public company on the TSX Venture and on the CSE, and we found, and this is why we're really doing this webinar, only 40% of public companies on the Venture and the CSE had actually claimed their LinkedIn company page. So LinkedIn went, being Microsoft, searched Bing, search engine that's owned by Microsoft, for companies around the world and posted them to LinkedIn. So whether you know it or not, or you've ever been there or not, LinkedIn has likely posted a page for your public company. So if you went to linkedin.com, if this is not something that you manage or somebody in your office manages, type in your company name into the search bar in LinkedIn and go have a look. And you might be surprised your actual LinkedIn company page is there. It's just never been claimed and likely never been posted to. Another key stat here, definitely important for LinkedIn. LinkedIn grew 60% in content last year during the pandemic. Huge number, 60% of content on LinkedIn grew last year. So obviously the pandemic's definitely had its impact on LinkedIn, which is why even more so I believe, and I firmly believe, LinkedIn's definitely important for public companies to access investors. Again, these slides, we'll definitely make them available to you by email, and we'll post them at stockmarketing.ca after the webinar as well, in case you want to do a little bit more research into these numbers. So 2 key pages we're going to cover here for you that will matter to you as an executive of a mining company. We're going to cover your LinkedIn company page a little bit later, and we're going to start off with your LinkedIn personal page, which to me is kind of the 1970s Rolodex, but it's on LinkedIn and now it's on steroids. As always, my favorite example is Jonathan Buick, really wonderful gentleman, CEO of Idaho Champion Gold. We do provide executive branding for Jonathan, but Jonathan's actually logged in all day to LinkedIn, definitely posting content regarding his company and updating everybody on himself and Idaho Champion itself. So key things to look for when you're populating your personal profile. And again, we know 40% of public companies have not even claimed their LinkedIn page, which is why we know that many executives have probably never even looked at their own personal page on LinkedIn. So key things here that you need to consider that is definitely relevant to Jonathan's and things that Jonathan's done. Clear image of his face, which Jonathan Buick, there may only be so many of out there in the world. But if your name happens to be Bob Smith, well, they definitely want to be able to see that it's your face and to know that the actual connection they're making is with you. LinkedIn cover for Jonathan, fantastic, nice, clear logo of his company there with a backdrop of one of the projects. Stock symbols beside the company name. Cannot tell you enough how important this is. It gives everybody a chance when they see a stock symbol, everyone's brain automatically goes, wow, I can invest in this company. Too many CEOs and executives of public companies never add these to their current experience on their LinkedIn profile, or it doesn't matter if it's Twitter or anywhere else, especially here on LinkedIn where it's so business oriented. Make sure you post your stock symbols in the exchange to the right of your position of the company you're with. And that way it'll trigger those visiting your profile, looking for more information that you're part of a public company, and maybe it'll trigger them to do some more research and potentially invest in the company. Bio, incredibly important. It's down below the About Us section that's there. Write it in a first person. So many people write it from, it's a bio written by somebody in the Toronto Star or another major publication, and they write it as if it's a third person. Don't do that. Let's make this personal. Let's make this human. Definitely fill out this section as, there's Jonathan. I bring over 20 years of business management and finance experience. Fantastic. Do the same with yours. Make sure you write it in first person. So let's roll on from here. Jonathan's definitely covered his past experiences here. Make sure when you do this that you're attaching yourself to the correct company. Sometimes companies can get 2 or 3 company profiles. Find the one with the correct logo, and this will attach you to the one that's got all the other employees there as well. So always make sure you've attached yourself to the correct company and the correct school. Sometimes other schools end up with their own duplicate. Make sure it's got the company or the school logo down below as it does here for York University. Key things, and put all of your education, no matter, certain other courses you've been through with other schools, other designations you received. Make sure you populate your experience and your education well. Now, why do this? Because it will always recommend connections for you of those you've worked with or those you've gone to school with. Other like-minded people, if you're an executive of a public company, it's likely going to attach you to other connections that you've gone to school with, you've worked with, and guess what? They're all potential investors for your company. Down below in your personal profile, somewhere else to look for, I've added mine here. because a lot of people don't think about filling out the licenses or certifications they received or any volunteer experience. But it's key. Again, like I'm saying, you're going to always be recommended to other connections who have received the same designation. I don't have it, but if I was a CPA, certified professional accountant, I would definitely list that certification down below. And guess what? Other CPAs here in Canada, in the US, will receive a, hey, would you like to connect to this person? And for you, it's all about connections, eyeballs, and getting more visibility on your public company for investors. Volunteer experience as well, whether it's with a hospital, with a charity, a country club you're part of, any speaking engagements you've ever done, it may connect you with others who have done similar things. So fill out your entire personal profile. It's important to me, and I always say it, investors are going to bet on the jockey as much as they bet on the horse. So make sure as a public company executive, you've got all this key information filled out and available online. So the second company page that we kind of want to cover here on LinkedIn is going to be your own personal or your own public company. Make sure if you have the admin access to this or somebody there in your company does, that they fill it out completely. It's as important as having your website online is filling out this content. So again, here we are with Idaho Champion. Make sure you got a nice clear logo. Too many people forget it, or they go and stick an image in there. Make sure it's your company logo. You're trying to maintain consistent branding across your website, your social media platforms. So make sure it's here as well in the LinkedIn company page. If you're not sure about your LinkedIn company page, as I said before, easily type into the LinkedIn search bar your company name and have a look there if it's ever been claimed. If it hasn't, especially if you have an email address with your company domain name carrying on after the @ symbol, you'll have the ability to go in and pick up the administration access and give others admin access who you may want to maintain this page. Great company information, stock symbols are there. The About section is just as important as what you put on the front page of your website. And I think we've got a good overview here for Idaho Champion. They've populated information regarding their different projects, link back to their website, their phone numbers there. Key things you would find on the front page of your company website is also key for you to have here on your LinkedIn company page bio. So LinkedIn company page, well, important to populate, but now to the most important part of all of this is posting. We recommend, as people who post for dozens of public companies, especially mining companies, each and every week, is to post consistently, and that we recommend at least once a week for a public company. So very easy when you're inside your company page on LinkedIn. If you're an admin, you can easily see the box there on the middle of the screen that says start a post. So easily upload a photo, video, or a document. Photo could be something recent from the project you've worked on. Video might be an interview you've given recently to a third party. And a document might be your investor presentation. So great opportunities to get those key bits of information as well as a post. And there's an example of one below that we would have put out today for Idaho Champion Gold. It was a news release. So there in the news release is the title. We've added a link that goes back to the Idaho Champion website where the news release is in entirety. The reason we do this, and it's there as a bit.ly link, LinkedIn's taken it over and you can see the lnkd.in, means LinkedIn's thrown its own address on it. But the reason you want to run the traffic back from a post here is that you get more visibility back to your website. We don't want to put in the article when it's on PR Newswire or whatever other dissemination service you've used. This is a great opportunity to run traffic from LinkedIn right back to your website and have them read the full news release there in entirety. Other key things, hashtags down below. Don't use too many, but make sure the ones you use are applicable to what's in the news release, the resource that you're mining, and as well as the stock exchange symbols down below that are key to the CSE, the OTC markets, things that matter to Idaho Champion for them. And obviously an image down below to make it graphically appealing and exciting for people to hit. So posting's important. We recommend everybody do it at least once a week, maintain consistency. But if you post and then the next day a news release is generated, make sure you post things like news releases, articles, interviews, post them the day that they're made public, because that way you're going to get visibility to them when it matters most. So this kind of brings us to our golden tip. I've got 2 of them here. This one's incredibly important. And we're using Idaho Champion again as an example, because posting to Idaho Champion today, their news release, gave visibility to 192 people. I believe that's the number of followers are there for that company. We can go back, we can double check, 190 followers in Idaho Champion. So today's news release would have made its way through the news feeds of 190 followers to the company. So our tip, also have the entire staff members, if you can, of a company posted to their LinkedIn, because as we did here for Jonathan Buick, Jonathan reposted that LinkedIn company post of today's news release, and it's accessed his 2,250 followers. So rather than just posting to the company, 190 followers, that's great. It now has visibility into the news feed of Jonathan's 2,250 followers. And what do people spend in life and advertising and news releases and dissemination? This is all completely free for those that spend the time doing this. Post it to the company, and then our tip and trick, number 1, go post it on the personal profiles of the company executives and generate even more exposure. From there, we're going to roll into another tip that most people have no clue about with LinkedIn. It's our tip number 2. It's the ability every month to invite 100 personal connections to follow your company. So as I've always said, those are, investors are out there betting on the jockey just as much as they bet on the horse. This is the ability to take personal connections and invite them to like your company page. I'm assuming as a mining executive, you have hundreds, if not thousands of connections on LinkedIn, and many of them are potential investors. But if you don't steer them in the direction of following your company to learn more information immediately, you may never generate the attention to turn them into potential shareholders. So I've used stock marketing as my access. And as you can see on the panel on the left, as an admin, I'm able to pop up a button called Admin Tools. And there below is a button called Invite Connections. Brings up the prompt on the right-hand side where you can see the pop-up. And each month you get 100 free credits. There's no way to buy more. We definitely have tried, that's for sure. But we get 100 credits, each individual there, to invite your first connections to like a company page that you're an admin of. So what a great way to go into your personal connections, pick out the 100 each month that you may believe becomes an investor of your company, and make your way through and click the invite button, which is exactly one of the ways that we've gotten so many, those exposed to our webinars. We're able to do the same thing for an event, to be able to go in and invite connections to attend a webinar. So also a great way, our tip number 2, make your way into your company page where you're an admin. Have all of your staff do this as well. If you want to make them admins of your page, they each have the ability to invite 100 first connections to follow a public company. We think it's fantastic. Another great idea to generate exposure to investors from your company. So posting, key information. Again, you've got a LinkedIn company page, you've got a LinkedIn personal page. Make sure they're well populated, up-to-date, key information, links, and then make sure you're posting. Post regularly, at least once a week. Make sure it's consistent. And like anything, you don't want to post 5 to 10 times a day. You'll oversaturate it. People get tired of seeing you in the newsfeed. You'll get deleted or unfollowed. So make sure that you are posting consistently. Once a week is great. And anytime there's a news release, there's an article, there's an interview, make sure it's posted as well to generate even more exposure. So lots of information about LinkedIn. Hopefully I've covered everything for you. If I haven't, I will make sure that we get these slides and we get the video up on stockmarketing.ca. We finished a little bit early, which is great. We've got 10 minutes. If anybody has any specific questions to LinkedIn, or if you didn't have a chance in our last webinar to ask us any questions about online marketing, whether it's your website, it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts, whatever we can cover that we feel like we become experts in over the years of working with and providing these services to public companies. Let us know if you have any questions. Kelly and I will both, I guess, be right here in the chat for the next 10 minutes. Content creation. What topics in the mining industry are of investor interest? I believe everything. You have investors that are only just scratching the surface. As a director for 2.5 years, I certainly took all the phone calls, I guess, during that time from shareholders. They want to be updated as you update them in news releases about the projects. They want to know interviews the CEO may be doing to, whether he's attending a conference online these days, or there's a new update to your investor presentation. Anything that you've changed since the past is important for you to use as content, especially on LinkedIn and through all of your platforms. If there is, changes to a project, it's in your investor presentation, or changes a page on your website, post it to your social media. Make sure it gets out there, because it'll bring the visibility back from the investors to your website, to these key platforms, and allow them to make an informed decision to becoming an investor. Hopefully, Tommaso, that answered that question. I think everything can be content, especially if it's new and it's updated. It's worth getting it out there. Certain things, maybe like share structure changes or fine details, might not be worthy, but anything that might excite an investor, definitely make sure that's content that you get out there. Paid LinkedIn advertising has become incredibly expensive these days. So no, I really don't recommend it. I think that if you post consistent content, we've never spent $1 on LinkedIn advertising. We did years ago when you could purchase by 1,000 impressions for inexpensive dollars, but LinkedIn's become more expensive than keywords on Google. So I don't recommend LinkedIn advertising. It's hard to target the attention that you need. You can pick industries and different things, but targeting investors is really hard through advertising. So no, I don't recommend it. I think it's better to spend the time than spend the money. Organically, you can build a following. We've just seen it through some companies. We've taken with our executive branding services, CEOs from 4 connections to 8,000 connections. Spend the time organically as an executive, build your connections personally, invite them to your company page, and build your growth that way. I think is much better than spending dollars on advertising on LinkedIn. Yes, Kelly's our very effective moderator. She will be saving a MP4 version of the webinar. It'll be there with the slides, and we will get it up onto, I think the exact web address is stockmarketing.ca/Scott. Thanks, Brendan. Hopefully that answered your question. Save your money, keep it in your pocket, spend it on other great marketing opportunities, but I definitely recommend LinkedIn is really an organic, time consuming, but definitely worthwhile opportunity. Thanks, Marcy. Wow, great to see you. I've seen some countries here. We got somebody here with us from Chad, Colombia, Saudi Arabia, New Mexico, US, Queenston. Always nice to see somebody here from the Niagara region. Brazil. Raj is from India. Fantastic. And more importantly than anything, we hope all of you are staying safe and healthy in these crazy, unique times, as everything's evolved from attending PDAC conferences in person to virtual events and everything else. We hope all of you are staying safe and healthy. We know the marketing industry has definitely changed for public companies. Road shows, investor conferences, and everything has changed to more about online. Hi, Cedric. Glad you're with us from Belgium. Hopefully it's not too late over there. Tommaso has said, what about issues related to environmental or social responsibility? Macro topics. Well, you know what? It's all going to come down, I guess, into the resource, as opposed to sort of describe what the three most important macro topics are. Definitely, environmental's coming in key in certain regions. It should be in all. I don't really want to get into the politics of it. EV, and we're involved in a lot of companies sourcing lithium, graphite, and certain things that are involved with EV. Future mining, it's not for me to speculate on. I'm a marketing expert as opposed to a mining expert. But yeah, environmental and social responsibilities are definitely important to investors. Green these days is generating a buzzword, and people are getting involved. We talked with one company last week from British Columbia. They're involved in green tech for mining. Great people. And they know that they're public and they've got great exposure now because it is something investors are looking for. It's not just about what the company's mining and targeting. It's important to what the mining company is doing for green and for their social responsibility. So I certainly, if you're in mining, if you have articles related to anything your company's involved as far as a green initiative or campaign for your project, definitely post them to your social media. The investors want to know how much the environment matters to you these days, just as much as they want to know your results coming out of the ground. Thanks, Tommaso. Good. Kelly, did you see anything else? I don't mean to wrap this up early. I'm always good at, what do you think about podcasts? Podcasts, I love. I, in 2018, realized that podcasts were going to have an impact on every industry. Recent results have shown more people listen to a podcast each week than attend church in North America. Some crazy stat I read, but it's completely true. I believe I was one of the first out of the gate with podcasts for public companies. I own the domain names, publiccompanypodcast.com. I had that much confidence in it. We made a mistake in the beginning. We had narrators read news releases and then post to public companies to podcast channels. We populate as a service for our clients on Apple iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. We were posting news releases read in entirety, taking sometimes 45 minutes to an hour with all the assay results, and realized it just wasn't generating the traffic. So we use podcasts now. We put the companies right into the directories under investing on Apple, Google, Spotify. And we use the audio from video interviews, presentations that public companies may make during PDAC, third-party conferences and different things. So we take the audio out of those video presentations and we post them to the podcast. I firmly believe I've seen incredible results on podcasts, subscriptions, listeners. We do it for all of our online marketing clients across the board. We create podcast channels and put them up. How to attract listeners? Listeners, it's tough to get the visibility because there are millions of podcasts on platforms like Apple, Google, and Spotify. You need to promote the podcast channels, and everybody has their own, favorite platform, I guess. You have an Apple phone, you're going to listen to podcasts on Apple. If you have a Google Home speaker, you're going to listen to your podcasts on Google. But the best way to generate listeners is to post to your social media that the podcast channels are available, and also put a link on every page from your website. Click here to listen to our podcast. So those that do choose podcasts as a way of generating knowledge, whether you're jogging, you're driving in your car, you're listening with your headphones on at work, it's a great way to educate potential investors about your company. So I firmly believe in podcasts. We do it for all of our clients. If you ever want to know more about it, certainly email us. But I definitely believe in podcasts as an opportunity. Not everybody can view video. You're driving, you're jogging, there's so many other ways. But I certainly believe that audio is a great opportunity. Well, we are at our 30-minute mark. I'm happy this wasn't 45 because I can certainly go on and on forever. Thank you, everyone. Kelly and I greatly appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully, you got something out of this. If you didn't, email us. We can certainly go into more detail if you'd like any more information, or if you have ideas on what you're doing differently on LinkedIn to provide great effect for you and great exposure to investors, let us know. We'd always love to chat further about it. I love to attract investors and replace access your work on them. So it's very important to have reliable information. Be careful. There's many interests in this information. Angelica, you're completely right. So the only content we post for our clients, and I ever recommend anybody posting on behalf of their company, is information that's already been disseminated, whether it's been approved to go on an investor presentation, it's been approved to go on a website, or it's there in today's news releases that's already been vetted by the board and disseminated by the CEO. Only use social media, obviously, for content that's been approved by the company to go out. So always be cautious of the social media representative for your company, that they're aware of it. Certainly don't jump out and start flying the flag, buy our stocks now, it's going up kind of mentality. Always make sure that the content is approved. And that's why we, as stock marketing for our clients, we only post information found on the client's website, in the client's investor presentation, or what's been released in the day's news release. So great point, Angelica. Make sure that your content posted is stuff that's already been approved by the company. Good. That wraps up a half hour. Again, Kelly will take the MP4 from this, the video file. It will be on stockmarketing.ca/Scott. And my email's there in case anybody would ever like to reach out. I think there's also a calendar on that page. If you want to take 20 minutes and do a Zoom call and chat about your company further and make sure you're using LinkedIn in a positive way, let us know. We would love to chat with you further. Well, on behalf of Kelly and I, thank you. As Tommaso says, be safe out there. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Till next time, we will see you in April. I think we might talk about Twitter. Yeah, I think we're going to talk about Twitter then. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you being with us.